The city of Baltimore was still quiet in the early morning hours. A thin layer of fog hovered above the streets as streetlights reflected softly off the damp road. Chief Renee Walker drove alone, wearing no uniform, no badge on display, a simple blazer and slacks. To anyone watching, she looked like an ordinary black woman heading to work. Inside her purse was a badge powerful enough to dismantle careers. Suddenly, red and blue lights flashed behind her. Renee checked her speed and mirrors. Everything was legal. Calmly, she pulled over to the side of the road. 2 patrol cars boxed her in, and 2 white officers stepped out with rigid body language, hands hovering close to their weapons. From the start, their posture made it clear this was not going to be a routine stop. Officer Brad Collins approached her window aggressively, shining his flashlight directly into her face. He didn't introduce himself or explain why she had been stopped. "License and registration. Now," he ordered. Kay complied without hesitation, then calmly asked, "What's the reason for the stop, officer?" Collins smirked and replied, "You'll find out." Back in their patrol car, the officers glanced at her license. One of them scoffed, making a comment about how a woman like her could afford such a nice vehicle. They ran her name through their system, but nothing appeared. What they didn't realize was that Renee Walker was enlisted in local databases because she was above them in the chain of command. When Collins returned, his tone had grown sharper. He told her to step out of the vehicle. Renee asked again for the reason. That question irritated him. His partner, Officer Evan Mercer, snapped at her to keep her hands visible. Cars passing by began to slow as tension thickened in the air. Kay stepped out calmly, her movements deliberate and controlled. The officers circled her, asking unnecessary questions, hinting at drugs and weapons without cause. Renee remained composed. Then she told them something that changed the dynamic instantly. "You should know this stop is being recorded." Collins laughed and dismissed her, assuming she meant her phone. Renee slowly reached into her purse and removed a leather badge holder, placing it in her open palm. Collins glanced at the badge and scoffed. "Internal affairs?" He laughed. "That's cute." Mercer joined in, mocking the idea that she could possibly hold that position. Renee looked them both in the eye and said calmly, "I am Chief Renee Walker, Head of Internal Affairs." For a moment, it was silence. Then Collins laughed again and said, "Yeah, and I'm the mayor." Renee didn't argue. She didn't raise her voice. She simply advised them to call their supervisor. Instead, Collins ordered Mercer to arrest her for disorderly conduct. Mercer reached for his handcuffs. The sound of approaching engines filled the street. Several unmarked black SUVs pulled up without sirens. Doors opened. Men and women stepped out, wearing dark jackets labeled Internal Affairs, Department of Justice, and State Oversight. The officers froze. A senior official approached and calmly asked which one of them was Officer Collins. His confidence disappeared instantly. Renee clipped her badge onto her blazer. Her posture didn't change, but her authority was now undeniable. The senior official ordered the officers to step back and informed them they were being relieved of duty, effective immediately. Mercer took a step away, his face pale. Collins couldn't speak. Within hours, Bodycam footage was reviewed. Audio was enhanced. Previous complaints once buried were reopened. A clear pattern of racial profiling, intimidation, and misconduct emerged. Stop that morning wasn't an isolated incident, okay? It was just the one that finally exposed everything. The next day, the precinct was silent. Lockers were emptied. Badges were turned in. Officers whispered as Internal Affairs moved through the building. Renee stood at a podium and addressed the department. She made it clear this wasn't about revenge, it was about accountability. Weeks later, the courtroom was full. Media lined the walls as the judge watched the Bodycam footage once. That was all it took. Charges were filed, careers ended, pensions revoked. The room sat in stunned silence as justice unfolded. Renee returned to her office the following day and went back to work. No interviews, no celebration, just purpose, 'cause justice didn't need applause, needed courage. They thought she was just another black woman on the road. They were wrong. She was the system they tried to abuse.